Have you ever found yourself some glorious summer day sitting by a sparkling lake? The shimmering water, the warm sunlight, the sound of leaves rustling in the wind, soothing and refreshing your mind. When suddenly, out of nowhere, you hear a loud, thunderous splash. You nearly leap out of your seat. It startles you so, and you turn around just in time to discover the culprit behind this unwelcome disturbance. Some kid with nothing better to do thought it would be fun to heave a large rock into the lake just to hear it go boom. So much for peace and quiet. Nothing against the boy. I used to enjoy the same mindless antics when I was his age. But the effect this kid had on the lake, and subsequently on you, as the tranquility of the moment came to a crashing halt, is similar to the effect narcissists have on our inner life. In this study, we will compare the inner life of the conscientious with the inner life of the malignant narcissist. And I would like to apply metaphors taken from Scripture, used for thousands of years, to describe and define spiritual reality in terms associated with its closest earthly equivalent: water. My hope is these metaphors will strike our imaginations and help us to mentally apprehend certain spiritual concepts with greater clarity and greater accuracy. Let's begin our study in the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 4:23. Keep and guard your heart with all vigilance, and above all that you guard, for out of it flow the springs of life. Did you notice the heart of man is likened to a wellspring? The heart of man is compared to a fountain of life. Let's look at another proverb. Proverbs 18:4. The words of a discreet and wise man's mouth are like deep waters, plenteous, difficult to fathom, and the fountain of skillful and godly wisdom is like a gushing stream, sparkling, fresh, pure, and life-giving. Proverbs once again likens the source of wisdom, the heart of man, to water. Deep waters, fountains of water, gushing streams of water. Let's look at Proverbs one more time. Proverbs 25. Like a muddy fountain and a polluted stream is a righteous man who yields, falls down, and compromises his integrity before the wicked. According to this proverb, the compromise of a righteous man's integrity is like the pollution of a spring or a fountain of water. The longer I think about it, the more convinced I become that water is the perfect analogy for one's inner life. Water is the perfect metaphor for the innermost parts of the soul. I am discovering from the Scripture the spiritual dynamics of man's inner life closely resembles the natural dynamics of the substance from which all organisms derive their biological life. The substance of water. I'm beginning to realize the effect of the inner life upon one's own mind, upon one's own intellect and imagination, and that it is comparable to the effect of water or lack thereof on one's own physical body. I'm learning the impact of one's inner life upon the inner and outer lives of other people is similar to the impact, or the lack thereof, of water upon the material environment that surrounds us. Let's analyze and interpret the inner life of man in terms of this life-giving substance, as well as the structures, both man-made and not man-made, used to store and supply us with this substance. And I'm talking about reservoirs, cisterns, wells, and springs. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, to feed and guide and shield me. He leads me beside the still and restful waters. He refreshes and restores my life, myself, my soul. David likens a sound, whole, refreshed, and calm inner life to still and restful waters. A calm inner self has a refreshing and restorative influence upon the entire soul of a person. I compare the mind and emotions of an individual to a small boat resting atop the surface of a large lake. The boat, representing mind and emotions, sits perfectly still when the lake is calm. Conversely, the boat tosses to and fro when the lake becomes agitated by stormy weather. And depending on the severity of the storm, that boat runs the risk of sinking. Our inner selves are like that. The place and the priority we give our inner self, the priority we give our inner life, has direct influence upon the condition of our inner self. The condition of our inner life. Its position in our life determines its condition. The faith that we place in our inner life determines its health or its frailty. The greater our confidence in the wellspring abiding within, the more plentiful the water supply. The healthier the water supply. The depth and the purity of the fount within corresponds directly to the value that we place on its waters. This is a spring that grows deeper with use. The more we dip into this well of nourishment and direction, the deeper it grows. The potential is there for this well to reach fathomless depths. Reliance on the wellspring within keeps the waters fresh and pure, just as the conscience is purified through one's submissiveness to it. However, the greater our skepticism toward the wellspring within, the drier the water supply. The muddier the water supply. Just as a well in the natural will eventually go bad through disuse, the wellspring within any man will go bad and in time dry up altogether if deserted. The abandoned well becomes dry and useless. The abandoned inner life of a man or woman, like the abandoned well, dries up until it becomes a wilted, shriveled, empty space. The abandoned inner life is a waterless well. 2 Peter. But these people, like unreasoning beasts, mere creatures of instinct, these are springs without water. The ramifications of a destitute inner life, an inner reality consisting of parched, hardened earth where fresh, pure water ought to be flowing, are tremendous. And Peter alludes to this in his writings. Men described as waterless springs are compared to unreasoning beasts, mere creatures of instinct. The power to make sound moral judgments is reduced to the level of animals when the wellspring is dry. Whatever stimulates the mind or the body is judged as moral to the man with the empty stream. Men who are springs without water have eyes full of harlotry, insatiable for sin. they don't see value in their wellspring. They don't have eyes for the fount issuing from their own conscience. And they don't have eyes for the streams of truth coursing through their inner depths, much less Scripture. Their eyes do not long for the river of wisdom calling from within. They do not seek the satisfaction of drinking from one's own well. Nothing but an insatiable desire for sin exists in the man who despises his own wellspring. Nothing but an insatiable desire for sin exists in the man who abandons the only thing in his life able to provide a true satisfaction of soul. He has debased the one and only source of inner reality that can nourish his entire being. Is it any wonder he would debase other aspects of his personhood by playing the moral and spiritual harlot? These men who are springs without water beguile unstable souls. Should we expect the man who devalues his own inner self to appreciate ours? And is it reasonable to presume the man who allowed his wellspring to run dry will esteem yours? A strange and disturbing phenomena takes place in the person whose own inner life has become a desert wasteland. His moral compass breaks down. The inner scales used to process the rightness and the wrongness of his own behavior gets buried under the desert sand. Let's look at Ephesians. In their spiritual apathy, they have become callous and past feeling and reckless, and have abandoned themselves a prey to unbridled sensuality. Eager and greedy to indulge in every form of impurity that their depraved desires may suggest and demand. With no well from which to draw for moral strength, his ego, his appetites form the parameters of his perverted sense of rightness. People become nothing more than a commodity to the inwardly empty man. The souls of others become objects to be possessed rather than gifts of God to be treasured. Let's read from Matthew. The good man from his inner good treasure flings forth good things. The evil man out of his inner storehouse flings forth evil things. Hoping for any goodness from the heart of a malignant narcissist is much like drawing from a dried-out well. Instead of a pail of fresh water, you're going to get a pail full of dirt, sand, weeds, and cobwebs. Because that's all there is in the well of a narcissist. dirt, sand, and weeds. There is no life-giving moisture in the words of the malignant narcissist. There is no life-giving moisture in the deeds of the malignant narcissist. The only thing that proceeds from his heart is chaff, empty, dry husks. Emptiness, vanity, nothingness. The narcissist may adorn his words and deeds with images that look like goodness, that look like life. They may look like light, but they will be animations, projections, containing no more reality than actors on the TV screen. The malignant narcissist has no nourishment to give. There is nothing in him of value to your inner self. The only thing the malignant narcissist has to offer your inner life is dirt, is sand, weeds, mold, and cobwebs. Things that pollute your wellspring. Things that defile your wellspring. And things that destroy your wellspring. It would be harmful enough if the malignant narcissist's evil extended to his complete disregard for the soul or the inner life of other people, and it stopped there. But it doesn't stop there. The malignant narcissist takes it a step further. The narcissist hangs to a deep-seated belief of his absolute right to influence, to control, to manipulate, and to toy with the inner life of other people. For reasons I do not completely understand, the narcissist's lack of any perceivable degree of connection with the deeper dimensions of his own soul seems to breed in him a sense of entitlement. Entitlement to the deeper dimensions of soul, abiding in those that he desires to control. This is quite the opposite of Jesus' attitude and approach to the inner life of others. In Revelation 3 of the Aramaic Bible, Jesus says, "Behold, I stand at the door, and I shall knock. If a man listens to my voice and will open the door, then I also shall come in." The narcissist does not politely and patiently wait for an invitation to enter the inner life of another. The narcissist breaks the door down, crosses the heart's threshold, and helps himself to whatever aspects of his target's inner sanctum he can amuse himself with, if not outright destroy. The well of life, resident in the conscientious, is not an object to be treasured. It's not an object to be cared for and protected by the narcissist. Relaxing next to that spring inside you, like the simple pleasure of sitting next to a lake on a sunny afternoon, is unthinkable to the narcissist. And drinking from that well inside of you for personal refreshment or nourishment is anathema in every sense to the narcissist. The narc would rather die than admit to being the recipient of any blessing that could have possibly flowed from you. No, the narcissist associates your inner life with a swimming pool. His personal swimming pool. He wants to swim in it. He wants to frolic in it. He'll have splash fights with it if there are other like-minded people in the vicinity. Sometimes he'll urinate in it. Oftentimes, out of boredom, he will toss a rock into your wellspring for no other reason than the enjoyment he derives from watching the movement of water inside of you. Just like that little boy at the lake. The narcissist believes he has as much right to your inner life as the swimming pool in his backyard. He really does believe he has the right to jump in whenever he wants, however he wants, and for whatever reason he wants. He really does believe in his right to put anything he wants to in that wellspring of yours. Be it urine, fecal matter, a rock, sometimes even poison. Your inner wellspring belongs to him. At times, your inner wellspring beckons him to dive in and have a splashing good time. But there are other times that your inner wellspring repulses him. And this is when the malignant narcissist is the most dangerous. This is when the malignant narcissist is the most sinister. Much like a snake slithering down the shaft of a well, the narcissist thinks himself completely justified in accessing your inner life under cover. Under cover because of the purpose he has in store for your wellspring. To pollute it, to contaminate it, to poison it. Little drops of shame he dispenses into your wellspring. Tiny traces of fear he releases into your pool of water. Poisonous lies concerning the deep-seated beliefs you hold about yourself he secretes into your fountain. droplets of venom so minute you'll hardly notice their noxious effect on your inner being. And that's if you're fortunate enough to even notice their effect at all. More often than not, you won't even be aware of what he's up to. Using words, gestures, or subtle behavior barely perceptible to your conscious mind, he will slither in and out of your wellspring undetected, just long enough to administer his poison. Let's look at Isaiah 58. You shall be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water whose waters fail not. There is nothing the malignant narcissist in your life hates more than the realization that you drink from the well that's within your own spirit man. The abuser hates that you choose to depend on the life, the light, and the truth residing inside of you rather than cow to his version of reality. The ultimate end of narcissistic abuse is destruction of the belief that you have in yourself. To annihilate the faith that you place in your own truth, in your own reality, resident at the very core of your being. To sever your soul from that wellspring of wisdom, that wellspring of understanding that you cling to for guidance and direction. To corrupt that stream from which you feel the pain and you share the joy of others. Don't let him do it. Your well is your well. Your well is your property, and it's only yours. It is the most valuable property you own. Far more valuable than the house you live in. Far more valuable than the car you drive. The Creator Himself honors the sovereignty of inner life in each and every human being. No less than deity allows for the right and the privilege to do with one's well whatever one chooses. Obey Proverbs 4:23. Guard your wellspring above all that you guard. Protect your wellspring above all that you protect. For out of it flow the springs